Om Sarvadharma Sthapakastam Sarvadharma Swarupakaha Acharyanam Mahacharyo Ramakrishna Namaha. We are studying here Sri Ramakrishna, the Great Master, fifth part, Master in Divine Mood and Narendranath. And we are toward the end of third section of the 12th chapter, named Master Stay at Shampukur. And the topic under construction was sentimentalism. Its causes were told, and Master was not doing anything when Narendranath was doing, and Master was observing or doing through Narendranath. Now, we have seen everything which Narendranath did about that, but that is negative. Unless you provide the substitute, you cannot cure a disease. So now we read that para. That is para 12. Para 12 we have to read now. Para 12 is his efforts to establish true renunciation and love for God in place of sentimentalism. So sentimentalism is one thing, but we should have love for God with renunciation, with true renunciation. They go together. Vairagya and Anurag go together. Without each other, they are meaningless. I am devoted to God and I am devoted to so many things. Or I don't like anything and I don't like God also. So they go together and they become meaningful together. So that is what Narendra is trying to implant there. He has learned from Sri Ramakrishna himself and he is sure of what Sri Ramakrishna wants. And the sentimentalism is not going to use, so he is inculcating this in place of that. I remember one incident here, I might have repeated many times. My teacher was talking to some devotees. And after talking for 15-20 minutes, he said, do you understand what I have told you? What I have told you? Anurag and Virag. Do you understand? Viraga and Anurag. Do you understand? Anurag and Virag. Do you understand? Virag and Anurag. So what do you understand from this? One of this you will have to pronounce first. But that is not more important than the other. So once he tells like that, immediately he tells on the reverse order. Then again, that should not pronounce. So this, then that. So when understand that they are equally, fully complementary and important. That is how I understood. So that is what Narendra is trying to inculcate. Narendranath could not rest satisfied simply by effecting a breach in the circle of sentimentalism with his reason and sarcasm. He was fully convinced of the fact that mere preaching did not produce its effect till a new mental attitude could be substituted in its place. Bhagavan Buddha removed the faith in the Vedas. Yes. And the religion he preached was impossible for people to catch. So whole India had become faithless. Oh, yes. So you have to substitute.
If you are taking something, you must give something.
And made great efforts toward that. So Nutan Bhav, and for that you have to make effort. He gathered together the young devotees during his leisure. Leisure is not there. Available time or spare time. Avsar kale. Some of these words sometimes do not suit me. During the time available, because there were a service and all that thing was there. Sang together with them devotional songs. So first substituted devotion to real devotion, sentimentalism to real devotion. That awakened in their hearts the idea of the transitoriness of the world. So devotional songs themselves containing vairagya. Shanabhangurata, renunciation and devotion to God. Three things together in the song. And thus tried to keep burning in their hearts the flames of those sterling spiritual qualities. So these three are sterling spiritual qualities. Transitoriness of the world, resulting vairagya and devotion. Coming to see the Master, many returned shedding tears because there was roused in them strong detachment and love of God as the result of their listening to this song. That means among them this was going on, but those who came as visitors, they were also affected. To the songs, hymns, etc., sung by Narendranath in his sweet voice. For example, this is a Sufi song. In Bengali, I could not understand it properly. It is in English, we understand. Kya Dilman Tamil Pyara, आखिर मिट्टी मट्टी में मिल जाना. What is Dilman? English translation is culture. Oh heart, oh dil. Dil is there, na?
Dilman. Dil and Dilman.
Dilman, Tamil, Pyara. Tamil is sweetness. Tamil means sweetness. Pyara. Oh heart, do you hold this culture so dear to you? That means the world. World. Ultimately, all that will return to dust. That is the main thing. जीवन मधुमय तव नाम गाने होय हे अमृत सिंधु चिदानंद घन हे. That is a Brahma song. O thou, the sea of nectar, who art concentrated bliss and consciousness, life overflows with joy when we sing thy name. So, Swarup of God. Not only, O Krishna or Rama, you are beautiful. That may rest to sentimentalism, may. But the consciousness, O thou the sea of nectar, who are concentrated bliss and consciousness, life overflows with joy when we sing thy name. And then Shankaracharya, Nirvana Shataka. मनोबुद्धि अहंकार चित्तानि नाम न च श्रोत्र जिह्वे न च घ्राण नेत्रे न च व्योम भूमिर न तेजो न वायुश्चिदानंद रूप शिवोम शिवोम प्रवृत्ति. I am neither the mind nor the intellect, ego and the mind stuff. So, total transcendence. I am neither the ears and the tongue nor the nose and the eyes. I am neither ether as the Akash, translated as ether. It can be translated as space also. In a particular time, this scientific term ether had come. I am neither ether and earth nor the fire and air. I am Shiva, bliss and consciousness absolute. Shiva means auspiciousness absolute. Pravruti, that means all these six stanzas. One's life will be similar to that of the master if one loves him. That is another thing. So mold yourself in that mold. Like him. You cannot be like him, but like him. Again, he would narrate stories from the life of the master regarding the sadhana brought about by the master's profound love of God. Sadhana brought about by master. Prasuti is there. Brought about means from where it is brought about. Regarding the sadhanas born out of master's profound love of God. So master's sadhana was depending on love of God. That itself resulted in his sadhana. Not some prescribed sadhana by Shastra. That is what is meaning. Or, you understood this point? Some ritualistic or prescribed sadhanas, master did not do that. But his love of God gave rise to some sadhanas. And that we should follow.
Which tell Shastra?
That is all right. But we should follow what master has taught us. It's an important point. We should follow what Thakur has taught us. Or he sometimes revealed the master's glory in a way that amazed the disciples. It's the same thing. Thakur is Swarup, Thakur is Mahima. Mahima, take. At other times, he would quote passages from the Imitation of Christ. It's a good Christian book which Swamiji had translated some chapters. And say, for that purpose, that they become like him. And the life of anybody who will truly love the Lord will be perfectly molded in his pattern. Therefore, whether we truly love the master or not will be best proved by this fact. Are we becoming like him? Moreover, he reminded us of the Master saying, first tie the non-dual knowledge in the corner of your cloth and then do whatever you like. What is the meaning of whatever you like? Not chori chamari. Any sadhana with the basis of Advaita in the corner of your cloth. That means as the basic conviction there should be Advaita. Actual practice like Dvaita is Nishta, Dvaita is so many times will come. But basis of all should be Advaita. This is the teaching of Gaudpad in the Vaitatya Prakara. He says that 35 bhavas he has counted, 35. And says many are there. And whatever the Guru teaches a person, that he catches. And that saves him from other. That means he becomes Eknishta. And then he says that all these bhavas are born of Advaita only. And Advaita also is a bhava. All other bhavas are also born of Advaita only. They are forms of manifestation of that Advaita. Tasmat Advaita Shiva. So holding on to Advaita is auspicious. He does not ask us to give up those bhavas. One should understand that. So any bhava you take, and you should understand that it is based upon Advaita. And that is what Thakur is telling. Basic conviction of Advaita, if you keep, the bhavas will result in Advaita. And this is Thakur has shown. Before Thakur's coming, anyone today, Bhaktas feel Bhakti is only Dvaita. They do not like to hear of Advaita. And Jnanis also feel Bhakti is only Dvaita. But Thakur has shown that any bhav, if it is pursued till its climax, it leads to Advaita. In other words, if you start with Advaita as the basic conviction, you will land in Advaita. So all the bhavas are channels of that Advaita. One or two I can quote. Yeah, I will quote Vatsalya, both sides. Now God is my mother. So from ocean, some wave rises. And that will go back to ocean. This is mother and child relation. Now take a river. And it is flowing towards the ocean. So it will get lost in that ocean. So mother's love for child is like that. Or rain creates ocean. And then rain gets lost in ocean. So all the bhavas are channels through which Advaita is flowing. Love of two individuals is not attraction, though it appears as attraction. It is the manifestation of the identity already existing there. Thakur showed it by Shodashi Puja. Thakur separately entered Samadhi, mother entered Samadhi. And that is how they reach the oneness. So that is all philosophy. So, moreover, he reminded us of the Master saying, first tie the non-dual knowledge in the corner of your cloth and then do whatever you like. He then explained to us that all the Master's emotionalism, feelings, bhava, arose with that knowledge as its basis. The devotees had therefore to make efforts to attain the said non-dual knowledge first. Shall I add something? The attempt in all these classes is simply this: to carry the basic conviction of Advaita. Then sadhana you do whatever you like. So this point is over. Now something more Narendra was teaching them. Because the master's role is now being taken over by Narendra. Narendra's endeavor to make the devotees critical in accepting new truth. Master's truth appears new. Then critically, analytically find out and do. If somebody bogus something teaches you, then you should not be impressed because it is new. Critically analyze that and you will find hopeless. Then now this, suddenly something comes to my mind. This you know, Prajapita Brahma Kumaris, you might have heard, and they have become very influential now. What is their idea of moksha? You know? Moksha is for 5,000 years. Nitya moksha. After 5,000 years, you come back to the circle. And so gross is their explanation. And people flock to them in thousands. So one should, jato mat tatapat, all right. But one should critically analyze whether the mat has any basis. Is it rooted in any of our shastras? Narendra encouraged them very often to examine new truths first and then accept them. Hearing that one's physical ailments could be cured with the help of the concentration of the mind, he, we remember, gathered us together and engaged us in that practice in a room with its doors closed to remove the physical disease of the master. So yes, there is something, let us try. Again, he always tried to see that the devotees kept themselves aloof from irrational observances. The event mentioned below may be cited as an example. Mahim Chakravarti's hankering for name and fame. Hazara associated with Thakur to show he is like that. Mahim his own new thing. Mahimacharan Chakravarti's house was situated opposite the place where the southern part of the Moti Jila, not Mati. Moti pond, he has said, for Jila. Now, let me talk a little about this transliteration. Now, in English, there is no soft letter. French have no hard letter. So, T. T is T or T. T is both because they don't have a soft letter. Now this moti is not moti, not mati nor moti. Moti. Moti is that mukta. Now in this respect, take Tamil language. Tamil has no Mahapran in its language. Ka, na. So they think one example in English is the THE. By adding H, we have made it soft. We have changed it. It is not the. So Tamilians add H for making a letter soft. Yes, everywhere. How will write Gita? Githa. Yes, you don't know it. Yes. All Sanskrit letters they put H for making soft. Now a non-Tamil will read that. Gita. T is tough. H has made it Mahapran. More rare. Gita or Gita. So this should be remembered by Tamilians and all non-Tamilians. Non-Tamilians, when they read English put by Tamilians, Sanskrit put by Tamilians in English. In place of Mahapran, what they do, you know? T, double T.
Oh yes, but yeah.
Now our Ramakrishna Mutt,
TTA.
they pronounce as math.
Math and then yes.
Math.
Yes, because we have to
Because H is
H
there.
is there. Otherwise they put what and TTA.
So one should be careful in and this Malayali people. You know the language Malayalam?
No, I don't
Now, how it came into existence? 3 languages are mixed to make that Malayali language. Yes. No, Kannada no. Tamil, Sanskrit and Syrian language. From sea people came there. Their language, Sanskrit from the north and Tamil from beyond the hills. Now they understand and they are changing some names. But they should completely be free from this H business that they are following from Tamil. Now, Tamil has Aikara, I,
Yes.
for Srilingi and otherwise also. Gitai, Sitai. Now, our center, the town name was Palai. Now they are calling it Pala. But sooner they become free. I am addressing all the Keralites who are listening. The sooner they become free from the use of this H for making letters soft, the better. Now what to do? The French people, they pronounce T as the, D as the, madam. So in the European language, 26 letters is too short for expressing 52 letters of Sanskrit language. And I'm not discussing language. Tamilians are very proud that L, 3 we have. Marathi language and Kannada, I believe, has L. And Hindi language, Bengali language, the with a point below. The with a point below. So it takes the care of their L. Again one point. L, Sanskrit. Sanskrit has L. Agni Mile Purohitam. Now, is it nearer to R or to L? Can we not think of it as harder pronunciation of L? L is Dantya. Make it Murdanya L. So, Marathi people, instead of L, Marathi has a lot of L. They put L. Gole is a common surname. Gole. And Tamilians have discovered a new thing, you know that? Z they use for L. Z. Yes. how the other people are going to understand? Dravida Munnetra Kalaham. We read it as Dravida Munnetra Kalagam. Ha is not there. So, kha, gha is used for ha. So, Dravida Munnetra Kalagam. So, I have luckily been traveling throughout India and I picked up these things which are important in transliteration. Okay? So, what was our thing? Mahim Chakravarti's house. That Mati, Moti, in English he has put as M-A-T-I. Why? Because Ma is M-A. Bengali is pronounced Ma as Mo. And so instead of Mo, they use Ma. I will tell some joke, practical. Our first principal, Bhava Maharaj. Bahya is a Sanskrit word. Now, Va in Bengali there is no Va. Va Bhayor Vedat. So, he would imagine that originally Sanskrit could be Va. So, Va. And Bahya, Ha, that will become Ja. Vajje. So this transliteration should be carefully done and carefully understood. That is why I am talking this. People will simply read Mati because English has not soft letter. Tamilians will put H to make it soft. We'll read Mati. Anyway, so we are reading Mahim Chakravarti. Mahim Chakravarti's house was situated opposite the place where the southern part of the Moti pond, Moti Jheel, met the Kashipur road. That is, those who know Calcutta can trace it exactly. He was adorned with many good qualities, accepted, but he was ever eager to pass himself off as greater than he actually was. What this is called in Sanskrit? No, Dambha. No, Shankar says Dambha is Dharma Dvajita. But Dambha in English is ostentation.
Not hypocrisy.
No. Hypocrisy thing is not there and you are showing. This is what in English they have said, showing more than you have. If you earn 2 paisa more than others, cup, plate, spoon, what is this? Table and chair to eat. In every respect. You are very, very intelligent. But you will indulge in copying to get more marks than you have. Once, some devotee was bringing me Panchkula to Chandigarh and motor broke down in between. So he said, I will take the motor for repair, you manage some. I got down. Another car was coming, So I simply raised my hand and they stopped it, gave me a lift. Then they are asking me, what is your impression of Chandigarh? I said, should I tell good or bad first? But I'm telling. They said bad first. I said ostentation, babka. They said that man was a military man. He said in military this babka is too much. But in a few days we understand its hollowness. So this is Mahim Chakravarti. You will understand when we read. Huh? So he was adorned with many good qualities. But he was ever eager to pass himself off as greater than he actually was. That is that Dhamma. He did not, it seems, even hesitate to have recourse to falsehood, if that would fetch him honor. This anxiety that people should regard him as wealthy, learned, intelligent, religious, generous, and possessed of all other good qualities, regulated each action of his life. Saradananda Swami is telling, Vivekananda taught us to critically examine everything before accepting. In that respect, he has brought. Regulated each action of his life and sometimes made him a laughing stock too. When people understood. Once Mahimacharya started a free school and called it the educational section of the Institute of the Oriental Aryans. In English, you can catch that beauty.
Prachya Arya Shiksha.
Yes. Prachya Arya
Shiksha.
Oh, it is given there. It is given there. Okay. Prachya Arya Shiksha Kanda Parishad. Or elementary school. Because he is a scholar. He called his only son by the name of the holy face of one having the moon on his head. Mruganka Mauli Putatundi. He had a deer which he called Kapinjal. Kapinjal like the Rishir Naam. After the name of that anchorite. For did it become a scholar like him to call things or persons by short, simple names? He had a collection of various English and Sanskrit books. When we became acquainted with him, one day we went to his house with Narendra and asked him, have you, sir, read all these books? He humbly assented in the reply. But Narendra brought out some of those books the next moment and finding that their leaves had not been even been cut. Asked the reason for it. He replied, do you see, brother, people took the books after I had read them and did not return them. I have bought these books again and replaced them with these. Any falsehood. I don't allow anyone to take out books from here anymore. But Narendra discovered in a short time that none of these books had its leaves cut. You understand these leaves cut? Binding, this becomes joined and that has to be cut. And that is not cut, then how will you read it? Narendra was therefore certain that he kept those books only with a view to passing himself off as a great scholar and adding to the beauty of the house. The tiger skin of Mahima, who posed himself as a man of knowledge. Thakur had understood this immediately. At the time when we became acquainted with him, Mahimacharya introduced himself to us in the course of conversation as a spiritual aspirant on the path of knowledge, Jnana Sadhana. He used to visit Dakshineshwar many years before the devotees of Calcutta went to the master. And on certain days of religious festival, placed a tiger skin under the Panchavati, put on ochre-dyed clothes and Rudraksha beads, took his Utsav days, many people will see, took his one-stringed musical instrument and sat for sadhana with great pomp. He hung the tiger skin on a wall in a corner of the master's room when he returned home. This was enough for the master to understand the man. For asked one day whose skin it was, the master said it has been kept here by Mahima Chakravarti. Do you know why? People will see it and ask me whom it belongs to. And when I mention his name, they will consider him to be a very big sadhu. Mahima Charan's guru. Because they are shampoo guru, so all these things are. When there was a talk on initiation, Mahima Charan sometimes said, the name of my guru is Agamacharya Damaru Vallabh. No. Again, he said at other times that he had also been initiated like the master by Totapuri, the itinerant Paramahansa. I met him steady at a certain place when I went on a pilgrimage, not at Dakshineshwara. Certain place when I went on a pilgrimage in the western part of the country and got initiated. He has asked the master to live his life as a devotee and instructed me to live in the world as a sadhak on the path of knowledge. Superiority. It is superfluous to add that the truth of his words was known only to himself and to him who knows all hearts. No guru, his antaryami is no. One more point is there. The religious sadhana of Mahima Charan. The only sadhana we saw him practice was the uttering of the pranava with his voice in unison with the note of his one-stringed instrument, together with shouting a verse or two from books like the Uttar Gita at intervals. Uttar Gita, have you seen? Huh? Five Gitas are famous as Pancha Gita, Bhagavad Gita, Ram Gita, Uddhav Gita, Avadhuta Gita, and Ashtavakra Gita. But Uttar Gita is there, some Vedantic book. Shouting a verse or two from books like Uttar Gita, Advaitic books at intervals. He said that it was the discipline according to the eternal path of knowledge. No other discipline was necessary if one practiced it. This itself would awaken the coiled power and one would see God. So Kundalini has come in his Vedanta. The holy image of Shri Annapurna was installed in Mahima Babu's house, and it seems the annual worship of Shri Jagaddatri used to be performed there. It is inferred from these facts that he was born in a Shakta family. He seemed to have followed the method of the Shakta sadhana in the latter part of his life. Afterwards. For while he drove in a small buggy you understand? Horse carriage. He was heard at intervals to cry out, Tara, that thou art. Tara Tattvamasi. So something mixed with Shakta, Tara. He had a small estate, the income from which was sufficient to satisfy his worldly needs. That is Mahima. Oh, still one variety there. Mahima Charan at Shampukur. That is the main point, na? We are dealing with Thakur stay at Shampukur. That was in Dakshineshwar, that keeping this skin there. Mahima Babu came to visit the master on 2 or 3 occasions during master's stay at Shampukur. On those occasions, after inquiring about the welfare of the master, he came and sat down in the room that was intended for all people. We haven't described that room, and practiced mantra in unison with his one-stringed instrument. And while he was doing it, talked at intervals on religious subjects to others. Charmed with his personal beauty, enhanced by the ochre cloth he put on, his gigantic corporal frame, corporal means physical, big fat, and the glamour of his words, many used to put spiritual questions to him. The master also sometimes said to him, "You are a scholar, please go and give them some instructions." Master is making fun only. For it was not unknown to the master that Mahima had a great desire in his heart to have a few disciples and to spread his own name. A debate between Mahima and Narendra. Narendra will expose him gladly. One day Mahima Babu came to Shampakur and spoke thus on many things, and that is under the spell that critically analyze, and tried to establish that the method of discipline adopted by him was the easiest and the best, all other methods being low and tortuous. Narendra Narendra could not bear it when he saw the young devotees of the master listening to this without a protest. He brought forward contrary arguments and proved Mahima's position to be untenable, saying, "What is the proof that one will see God by uttering mantra as you, in unison with music of the one-stringed instrument?" Mahima Baba replied, "Sound itself is Brahman. God cannot help revealing himself in response to mantras uttered in unison with musical notes. Nothing more need be done." Narendra retorted, "That means, where have you read this? Has God made such an agreement with you in writing? Or will he appear before you with stealthy tread like a snake charmed by the mantra? And herbs, when you raise the pitch of your voice and utter mystical syllables like hum hum, it is needless," and that is the quotation complete. Swami Vivekananda asked this. It is needless to say that Mahima Babu's preaching did not prove the more interesting for Narendra's arguments, and he bade goodbye earlier that day. So Mahima is over. Another point, Narendra. So Master's thing has been taken up by Narendra now. Narendra taught equal regard for all true sadhak. So if critically analyzing a fine is true sadhak, then whatever pantha he may belong to, we should pay respect to him. Important thing for Ramakrishna mission. Narendra, if the sadhana is true, if the person is genuine, equal regard for all true sadhakas. Narendranath also kept a watch over the devotees of the master to see that they paid due respect to the true sadhakas of all religious communities. He kept a watch on them. Paying reverence to the sadhakas of one's own community only and condemning all others as people in general do is, he said, as good as showing disrespect to the master's doctrine, as many faiths, so many paths. And therefore, to the master himself, it is insulting the master. We remember an event of this sort which happened during our stay at Shampukur. Our Swami Saradananda also is staying. Prabhu Dayal Mishra, the Christian missionary. Is it missionary? That is my doubt. articles. Dharma Yajak. Yajak is a priest. Yajaka, the one who does. One day, a Christian missionary named Prabhudayal Mishra came to see the master. So he has not changed his name. Mishra is a Brahmin surname. We could not at first know him to be a Christian, owing to his ochre cloth. So he is putting on ochre cloth like the Hindus. You know, many fathers do these days. Many.
Instead of
Ashramas itself. That is a different matter, of course, need not be mixed here. Indianization of church. I visited one such ashram near our Pala ashram. All were raised in Kerala. And many practices of ours had adopted. They pay good respects to Ramakrishna Mission. When in the course of conversation we came to know from him what he was asked why he, a Christian, had put on ochre cloth. He replied, I was born in a Brahmin family. Should I give up the customs and practices that have come down to me from my forefathers only because I have the good fortune to put faith in sweet Jesus and accept him as my chosen ideal? So he is devoted to Jesus. That's all. I am a yogi, devoted to Jesus. Sweet Jesus, he says. I doubted that so. No mention of sweetness.
only issue Jesus. Prabhu issue.
No.
Only issue.
While editing, people do all these nonsense. Suddenly our mind will go that side. I have the good fortune to put faith in Jesus and accept him as my chosen ideal. I believe in the yoga scriptures and with Jesus as my chosen ideal, practice yoga exercise daily. No yoga scriptures, if you take Patanjali, there is no Ishtadevata there. I have, of course, no faith in distinctions recognized by the caste system, one point of the Hindus. But I do believe that it is prejudicial to the practice of yoga to take food out of the hand of anybody. So, Jati Manina Kintu Andaman, spiritual part. So, I take Havishanna, cooked by myself every day. Havishanna, you know.
Yes.
Boiled rice, boiled with ghee, that's all. Havishya means fit for putting in homa, that is called Havishya. Consequently, though a Christian, I have been obtaining the results one after another of yogic practices, such as seeing light, etc. So, supersensuous experiences. The yogis of India, the lovers of God, have been wearing ochre cloth from time immemorial. What dress other than this can be dearer to me? That is, Gerva dress is connected with the sannyasis. All right. Narendra put question after question and brought out all his dearest and innermost ideas one by one, and knowing him to be a yogi and holy man, paid great respect to him and asked us also to do likewise. So many of us touched his feet and bowed down to him. We took sweets, etc., the prasad of the master, together in one and the same place, not plate. One and the same place, not plate. Huh? That is Muslims and Rajputs do that, you know. Members of the same family take in one plate. He expressed his, that is because water is not there. No? He expressed his view about the master and said that he regarded him as Jesus himself. Further deterioration of the master's illness, the devotees brought him to the Kashipur garden. Saradananda Swami has ended the book here. About Kashipur, he wrote later on 3 articles in Udbodhan. And that were taken in Bengali book as Parishishta. In English, they have been taken as 13 chapters. Narendranath has guided the devotees of the master on the right path when the master's disease was daily worsening. Dr. Sarkar became anxious on seeing that those medicines that had provided more or less good results before were no longer efficacious. Coming to the conclusion that it was due to the close polluted atmosphere of Calcutta city, he advised that the master should be removed to some garden house outside the city. The first half of the month of Agrayan is which month? Other name? Margashirsha. Agrayan. The first half of the month of Agrayan had then passed. Knowing that the master would be unwilling to change house in the next month of Pausha, the devotees did their utmost to find out such a house. In a short time, they hired for a monthly rent of 80 rupees in those days. It will go into thousands now. The garden house of the late Gopal Chandra Ghosh, the son-in-law of Rani Katyayani, situated on the eastern side of the main road leading to the Varanagar Bazar, where the northern part of the Moti pond of Kashipur touched that road. Surendranath Mitra of Shimulia, here Shimulia is given. Calcutta is added, not Shimla. The exceptionally loving devotee of the master promised to pay the whole rent. Master told him, you pay. When the final settlement regarding the house had been made, an auspicious day was looked up at the almanac, and furniture, utensils, etc. were shifted from Shampupur and other arrangements made. At last, the devotees brought the master from Shampupur to the garden house of Kashipur in the afternoon of the penultimate day of the month of Agrayan, 13th December or like that. 14th is Sankranti, these solar months. So Sankranti, they change. So 14th December, so one day before means 13th December.
Penultimate, day of penultimate means 13th.
One day earlier, na? Penultimate day, one day earlier. They felt great joy in their minds when they saw the master joyous over the seclusion and the open air of that place, adorned with trees full of fruits and flowers. In the next chapter, we shall see Holy Mother also was pleased. So the devotees were pleased. Om Sarvadharma Sthapakasvam Sarvadharma Swarupakah Acharyanam Mahacharyo Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.